within 12-mile limit of Vietnam. The limit was regulated by the VA, which is better known as a combat zone. However, many of them are infected by Agent Orange. By any various means. John is a victim of Agent Orange, Dioxin poisoning, and now working on a sports cancer. In August 2011, John was diagnosed with his fourth cancer, a very rare form of cancer, perhaps less than 60,000 cases known, which he'll get into. And there's no cure, no real treatment for it. In September 2011, after doing some research, John started to write about Vietnam and Agent Orange and the failures of our government to provide proper VA benefits, especially for Blue Water Navy. To date, he has written 24 articles, mostly published as letters to the editor. It's been published in hundreds of news publications nationwide these past 2 years. He also is a member of Children of Vietnam Veterans Health Alliance. That's www.covvha.net. You can go there and check that out. He has an educational background with an AS degree in management. His work history after retiring from the Navy was a maintenance supervisor and assistant instructor at a private school in the power department, teaching engineering studies for young men in various degrees were issued in technology. Later changing jobs, director of facilities and engineering of a large private boarding school. And so we'd like to welcome John on the show. John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing as best as I can, Mark. As you know, I've been sick lately, but I'm perking back up. So things are looking a little bit better for me. That doesn't mean anything, though, because what gets cleared up always comes back in a few months later. It's a never-ending story.
Great. Well, John, it's great to have you on. Actually, this is Mark here. That was Chris. He's actually the host of the show, giving the intro.
Sorry about that, Chris.
I'm sure it's fine. But
yeah, we got. I'm Chris. We got Mark, and we also have Jeff Giles on with us, who is the other co-host.
Okay.
Hello.
So I've got a whole team there.
Yes, a whole team.
Well, I'm honored and proud to be on your show, and I hope it's all worthwhile to you and to the general public and to all those veterans out there that I hope will be hearing this and over the next few days. I've got a lot to say, and we'll see how it all goes.
Great. We're honored to have you on here.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Like Chris said,
I did my job. You know, I did my stint. 22 years in the Navy, like you said, 4 shipboard deployments to Vietnam waters, and did what was expected of me.
And well, John, let's jump right into it. How are you getting treated now? How are the veterans that did their job and did their services, how are they being treated now?
Well, we are being treated like as if we don't exist. Our Congress is doing zero for us, and the VA doesn't do much for us as well, other than you have to put claims in. Insurmountable amount of evidence is required, and so forth. Let me give you a little bit of background history.
Yeah,
I think would be appropriate to start with. Agent Orange, looking at it, the dioxin part of Agent Orange, which is the takeoff from the chemical, is the most deadliest herbicide known to man, and is only second to radiation poisoning. That's how bad this stuff is. Dioxin has a half-life of approximately 9 years on the surface of the soil. Once it permeates into the soil, it has a half-life of approximately 36 years. Now, if you know your science, you know what half-life represents. However, in the human body, it is there until we die and cannot be eradicated. There is no vaccines. There is no way to get rid of it. It's there permanently. It's also in our genes, and it also defiles our DNA, such as my DNA probably will not match up with some of my children's DNA because of the dioxin poisoning. It is also passed on to children by way of conception. It resides in the fatty tissues of our bodies. It resides in the male sperm, and it resides in the female egg if the female was in Vietnam. That's how it works.
And so that's how it's passed down through generations.
Exactly. We're now experiencing third-generation Agent Orange children, and we've yet to see fourth generation, but it is coming. It could take as many as 8 to 10 generations before they don't know where it comes from.
Wow.
And that's a horrible thought.
Oh, it certainly is. I want to actually back you up a little bit, but before I do it, I have a kind of a significant question. It alters the DNA.
Yeah.
Can you go any farther with that? As far as I mean, your DNA might not match up with your children's and your grandchildren.
Exactly. Because it's the poison, the dioxin, alters a recipient's DNA. Now, you may have heard Kelly Dirks talk about this. She knows a little bit more about that portion of it than I do. But that's what happens. Our DNA is altered, and so if a child or grandchild wanted to prove they were a relative of mine, they probably couldn't because of the altered DNA.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's how bad this stuff is.
And that's actually why I want to back you up just a little bit. And for anybody that doesn't know, I mean, I think Agent Orange is kind of a household name now, as far as people know. It was a chemical that was used in Vietnam and so on and so forth. But can we back it up a little bit and just
Certainly.
Just kind of start from the beginning of where it come from, what it was used for, etc.
Okay. Let's go back to 1961. A presentation was introduced to President Kennedy by the Department of Defense and the Monsanto Chemical Corporation. Monsanto, of course, was the prime manufacturer of Agent Orange. I'll probably refer to Agent Orange as AO a lot, short term.
Sure.
They convinced President Kennedy to use the herbicides, and they explained to him what it would do, that it would defoliate the forests, the jungles, and also kill the food supply that the North Vietnamese would rely upon. President Kennedy asked one question: will it harm humans? And Monsanto came out and said, no, there is no harm to human beings, that it is perfectly safe to use. However, JFK felt a little amiss about this and decided to look a little bit further into it and whatnot with scientific reports. And the scientific reports backed up Monsanto. It is a feeling amongst many that Monsanto probably got to those people to not give out the whole truth. Now, there is no record of that, but that's a feeling. Then, once President Kennedy was satisfied, he authorized use with a code name called Operation Ranch Hand, and that was launched in 1962. The JFK then in 1963 was approached by the Veterans Administration. It was around 63, maybe the beginning of 64, that there were unusual happenings, health issues amongst some of the troops and also those who were already discharged, where they were applying for VA benefits because of sores all over their bodies, redness, lung problems, things of this nature. And so further investigation with the IOM, the Institute of Medicine, who did more investigating into this, they determined that it could be probable cause of exposure to Agent Orange dioxin. Well, when President Kennedy heard this, he wanted to stop buying the Monsanto chemical products, and he wanted to stop the war. Of course, this never did happen. Unfortunately, President Kennedy didn't live long enough to do what he had hoped to do. Now, we go up a little bit further. We have over 58,000 men died in combat operations. However, since about the mid-1960s, nearly 1 million veterans have died because of Agent Orange exposure with an insurmountable amount of diseases of all sorts of cancers. And these people suffered. I mean, literally suffered. In 1991, Congress did pass the Agent Orange Act that would afford benefits to all Vietnam veterans, whether they had boots on ground or were at sea or whether they were in the air. Now, it took all those years for Congress to wise up and decide to pass a bill. All right, that being done, in 2002, the VA came to President Bush and told President Bush that they are being overwhelmed with VA claims for Agent Orange exposure. Now, President Bush says, well, what do you want me to do about it? The VA said we need to cut back somehow. So President Bush authorized the VA to stop all benefits, to include compensation, to all veterans who did not have boots on ground. So that means nearly all Navy, Air Force, some Fleet Marines lost their benefits in 2002. And they had to put in new claims if they could prove that they were on ground. If they weren't on ground, it was tough. You got nothing.
Yeah, right.
Then later in years, Admiral Zumwalt did a study, and he came up with all sorts of diseases. A big one, which is the one real big one that I have, which is T-cell Cutaneous Lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's disease, was the only one that the VA recognized for U.S. Navy, known better as Blue Water Navy, who never set boots on ground. All other cancers and diseases were denied unless you can prove boots on ground.
But there must be just dozens and if not, just many, many more, different types of illnesses and cancers from it. For soldiers that were not on, not boots on ground, as you mentioned.
Right. Well, here's a short list of what these veterans are experiencing, especially the boots on ground. Well, even Navies experience it, even though they did not have boots on ground. We mentioned non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. There are other various skin diseases or skin disorders: lip cancer, bone cancer, soft tissue sarcoma, birth defects, myelomas, neurological disorders, various other types of skin cancers, liver disease, Hodgkin's disease, leukemia, lung cancer, kidney cancer, prostate cancer, stomach cancer, bladder cancer, colon cancer, esophageal cancer, prostate, testicular cancer, brain cancer, gastrointestinal diseases, and cancer. This is just a few of those.
Jeez.
Now, there are approximately 35 different diseases that but these are the ones that Admiral Zumwalt came across.
Okay.
Okay, I can hear the buzzing there.
You're good.
But since that time, since 1990, now he discovered all this in 1990, and but since then the list has grown considerably. There are also diseases that are associated strictly with women who were in Vietnam, such as spina bifida, which is a horrible disease. And but they say there are certain diseases that are associated with women veterans and not associated with male veterans. And I don't see the sense of that, because a lot of males have gotten the same diseases as the women. Also, their children, second generation, third generation, have accumulated the same types of diseases as well.
Sure.
So I don't know why they make a differential between male and female on this, and it's a wonderment to me and to many others.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to, if you don't mind, John, I'm going to keep throwing questions here at you. I'm sure Chris is going to want to jump in. I'm sure Chris is going to want to jump.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure Chris is going to want to jump in here as well, but I've just got a ton of stuff. You mentioned, the whole program was called Operation Ranch Hand. Correct me if I'm wrong. That lasted almost a decade.
Operation Ranch Hand lasted from its inception of 1962 to 1970. Using it. The end of the
Sir, you keep getting cut off. There's like a button being pushed, I think, on the dial tone, and then I can't hear you for like a few seconds.
Yeah, well, I'm getting the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting some static there.
Okay.
But, it started from the inception, 1961 until 1963. Operation Ranch Hand continued on, and which is 1970 or 1973. That is. That's when they began evacuations and started to tone down the war, and the war officially ended in 1975.
I found some statistics of the gallons of this dioxin, this Agent Orange that was used. There's astronomical amount.
Well, 21 million gallons was used.
Yeah, that's the statistic I found was 20 million.
Yeah. Well, the official, everybody rounds it off to 20 million, but it's officially 21 million.
Wow.
And it was sprayed by many methods.
I think one of the major things that you had said to me, or had said here, was Monsanto denied that it would have any, human altercations, any human side effects, negative side effects towards.
Exactly.
And I mean, as everybody knows, this is the company that's the major seed crops of the world. And the same company that's still saying to this day that their food, their genetically modified food, is completely safe, nothing to worry about.
Right, GMOs. That's the other big culprit we're dealing with today. That's going to affect not so much the adults, going to affect children of young ages in years to come. So Monsanto, to me, Monsanto's a murderer as far as I'm concerned.
For sure.
They're killing people.
For sure. I have a question about that. I tried looking for peer-reviewed journals on this, and I don't really trust the peer-reviewed journals anyway, because I believe, there's a whole fascist FDA pharmaceutical, in that sense, collaboration. But I could only find 2 peer-reviewed journals out of 50 that actually pinned GMOs in a bad light, and scientists, everywhere dispute those and claim they're not true, and they're insufficient. So why do you think that is? I mean, I probably
because Monsanto has them in their pocket.
Right. That's what that's how I believe.
Now you take a lot of your European countries, France, Germany, Poland, many of your European countries have banned all products from Monsanto,
including Italy, yeah, and
including Italy, yes.
A lot of our allies there. I mean, so.
Yeah. Now the other thing about Monsanto, this here happened in October 2013. Congress passed the Monsanto Protection Act. Ha ha ha. Okay, the Senate took a look at it, and they said, no way, we will not agree with this. We will not even vote on it. Go back to the drawing board. So Congress has yet to come up with another bill trying to protect Monsanto. Now, Monsanto has our Congress in their pocket, obviously.
Right.
And that's how I look at it, and I think that's how a lot of other people I know look at the same thing.
It's
or
tragic.
Else we would have bills passed.
I mean, GMOs are nearly in everything we're eating. I just did a post of Halloween candy. Nearly every different type of candy has beet sugar and all sorts of crap in it.
That's right. It's in baby food.
Yeah.
That anyone who has a baby 4 or 5 months old, they are eating it in their baby food.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Now this is disgraceful.
It is.
It is. It is absolutely. It's horrific. It's what it is. Which I've claimed on the show many times. I believe it's, I believe there's a lot of different factors to it. The unfortunate reality of it is sickness is profits.
Of course. It's all about money.
There you go. That's what it really all boils down to.
Right. The operative word is money.
And power and control and
power control, exactly.
Yep.
And they have the power. They are controlling everything.
That they do. They do have all the power. And money control, maybe even go as far as saying population control.
You're right there as well. Okay, the old saying, money is evil. Well, we just are learning about that very quickly.
I personally believe money. I mean, it's like a gun. It's all about whose hands it's in. So I mean, it's a tool. It's definitely used for evil purposes. That's for certain.
That's true. That's true. I don't like to think of it that way. I like to think of money as a commodity that we have earned.
Right.
And try to use it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't think money necessarily. I don't agree with money is the root of all evil, or money is necessarily the, a terrible thing. We're going way off subject. Obviously, our Federal Reserve and the way that the money system is absolutely, asinine. But as far as what money actually is, but it comes down to the control thing.
You can look at good money, bad money, and I'm not looking in the sense of bad money being something that's illegal or anything like that, but it's how it's used. And I think you'd agree with me on that, on how it can be used to solicit, to manipulate, and so forth.
Right. Of course. And let's say, I mean, you said it when Monsanto has their, has bought out our government, the whole government, and everything. The money has the control over it.
That's right.
So just buy them out.
That's right. That's why I say Monsanto has our government in his pocket.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's not just Monsanto either. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. The Dow had a big part.
Right. Dow Chemical plays a big part in this as well. However, Monsanto is the one who found a way to intensify dioxin, nearly 1,000-fold stronger. And that's why they use their product mostly.
Okay.
There are various kinds of herbicides that were used in Vietnam. Of course, Agent Orange being the main one. There's Agent Blue, there's Agent White, there's Agent Green, Agent Pink, Agent Purple. Agent White, you can go to Home Depot and buy a gallon of it if you like.
Yeah.
It's Roundup. Kills weeds.
Oh, yeah, that's a big issue.
And it can cause carcinogenics just as well. Done as fast, though. Try getting something on your skin and see how red it turns.
Right.
So we're stuck with all these products. People are just beginning to realize what some of this stuff is causing. Schools have banned herbicides in their playgrounds to kill weeds all over the country. The school that I worked for, we learned about some of the indiscrepancies of herbicides, and we banned it years before many other places banned it. We were probably one of the first who decided not to use this stuff to kill weeds around fence posts.
John, out of curiosity, did you have anything to do with that?
Banning it, yes.
Yeah, in that school that you worked for.
Oh yeah. I was in charge of all of engineering and all facilities, grounds, our grounds department, and everything else. And
sure.
I learned a little bit of things, a few things about it that was brought to my attention, and then I brought it to the attention of our school board, and we decided to ban its use. Okay.
All right. So pretty much it was a sole effort of yours. Okay.
Yeah, I started it.
Yeah, I could see that. Obviously, with your background and everything, just saying, listen, look at what you guys are spraying around the yard here. So.
Of course, back then I was very, very healthy. Now I'm not.
Right. No. And as Chris read in the bio, you're on your fourth cancer, John?
I'm on my fourth cancer. Previously to that, I started off with bladder cancer. I had 7 surgeries on my bladder. Then next I had prostate cancer, and my PSA was up the roof. I went and took radiation therapy for that. It worked. My PSA is down to almost nothing. Then I came down with kidney cancer, and I lost a kidney. And now I have lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's cancer. And and this one is the one that's going to eventually get me because, like I said, there's no cure, there's no real treatment. Everything is hit and miss. What works for me may not work for somebody else, and vice versa.
Right.
I do go in remission from time to time. If I'm lucky, I go in remission, what they call short remission, maybe 6 months, and then I'm sick for 3 or 4 months in a row. Then I go back into a short-term remission again where I'm feeling good. So when I'm feeling good, my wife and I take advantage of that, and we travel and stay together and do things that we want to do. This is a hard life I have been living for the past few years. Very, very hard.
Oh,
sounds it.
Very comfortable. Actually, John, my uncle also served in Vietnam, and in the 80s, he died of lung cancer from Agent Orange. It was his first cancer. He actually.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, so I was happy to have you on just to talk about it because I know it's been a big thing in my mom's and in my aunt's lives because he was the oldest child and he was the first to go and he didn't get through it.
Right.
I was very, very little when he died, but I do definitely remember him, and it's obviously a really bad thing. I don't know too much to say on it, but I thought I would throw that out there. That my family has definitely experienced the whole thing with the Agent Orange, and I didn't know until maybe I don't know, 10 years ago that it was Agent Orange that actually gave him the lung cancer. So.
Well, I can feel your pain. I can feel your loss. You are not alone in this. I am not alone in what I have. I have heard every sad story there is to tell. At one time, I used to cry when I would hear these stories, but I haven't got any of those tears left anymore. But I do listen to others, and I try to give them hope in some way, shape, or form, that they're not alone in this.
Well, I'm going to, during the break, call someone, a family member who's also heavily into nutrition all her life, and I'm going to ask, what she knows, inside info, best supplements to take, perhaps. I don't know, because she's always been right as far as, and it's prevented me from having to go to the doctor 99% of the time. And
yeah, well, there's some doctors will prescribe various types of supplements, to keep things going. See, Agent Orange attacks your immune system, right, and it can sneak up on you very slowly, or it can sneak up on you rapidly. But that's what it does. It attacks your immune system. Once your immune system is destroyed, you're done.
Yeah.
And so far my immune system has been okay. And I've got an excellent doctor. He's number one in the country for this particular disease, and he happens to be just 5 miles away from me.
Nice.
He is doing his best to keep it from attacking my immune system, and so far we're doing okay. With it all. And he has been very frank with me. He has promised to let me know when it goes internally. He goes, when it does, I'm going to be done. Because there'll be nothing that can be done about it.
Right.
Now, I do not worry about it. I'm too old. I'm too ornery.
Right.
I'm going to be 70. I'm going to be 78 years old in March. I've lived a good, hearty life, and I'm very proud of my accomplishments and so forth, and very proud of my family. I've got a wonderful wife who understands me, and she cares for me like a baby sometimes when I get sick.
Yeah. Well, God bless you, sir. That's just, it's still heartbreaking.
Right.
It really is.
Like I said, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this.
For
there's
sure.
Several hundred thousands of others who are likewise in bad shape as I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And it's a sad situation.
It is. It's touching. It is. John, I wanted to ask you a couple more things. We had a brief conversation yesterday, and you had mentioned maybe, and I hope you don't mind that we get into some of this stuff that we talked about. But
you get into it if any way you like. I'll respond accordingly.
Yeah, all right. You had mentioned that you had actual evidence, proof of this stuff, photo proof, and other stuff. Do you mind getting into some of that stuff?
No, not at all.
Great. No, I'll let you take over.
I can prove. See, way back, there's a lot of denials with the Department of Defense and all military departments. One big denial is that Agent Orange barrels were never transported on board a U.S. naval vessel, a commissioned U.S. naval vessel. They say that it was all transported by truck, by rail, and by civilian merchant ships. Okay, in the beginning, that is so. However, as the war accelerated and they needed more and more of this stuff, they started transporting it on board U.S. naval commissioned vessels, ships, mostly cargo vessels for the most part. And I have a letter addressed to me from the Department of the Army Archives, who now takes care of all the history, stating to me that no tactical herbicides were ever transported on board a U.S. naval vessel. However, I do have photographs to the contrary of that. I've got photographs of 2 ships transporting Agent Orange on board those ships. And it's undeniable. You can clearly see the orange stripes to include Agent White as well. Sometimes they would take Agent White and mix it with Agent Orange to make the Agent White a little bit stronger, depending on what they were going to spray it on. But I have that proof. Now, that proof is in denial, even though it's a picture. I've been asked how I got those pictures, and I told them, well, somebody sent them to me, some sailor. There's no law against taking pictures. And I was asked to turn over the names of those people. And I bluntly, arrogantly, in a way, said no, I would not turn those names over because it's in confidence. But if you want to take me before a board of inquiry, then I'll take the Fifth Amendment. You throw me in jail, and you become mud. That's how blunt I became. Right? And I'm willing to go that mile. However, I call their bluff. Okay? Nothing more said. I don't like scare tactics, and I can't be scared. I've been into this for too long. Right. And so no one's going to scare me. If the FBI or CID came knocking on my door wanting any information, I got a little blue book. I'll just wave it in front of them. It's the Constitution of the United States. I'm within my legal rights.
And I don't mean to chuckle in any way. It was just I was going to say you haven't had any. Well, I mean it I don't mean it in a disrespectful way in any fashion at all. I was going to say you haven't had any black suits knocking at your door as of yet. Then
no, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. No.
Okay.
I don't expect to either. I'm pretty well known in the newspaper world. I'm well known amongst, gosh, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of veterans and whatnot. And I think it would be very foolish to try to do anything to me or whatever. Because I'm not doing anything illegal.
If you Google your name along with Agent Orange, you fill up the first couple search pages. So you are very well known.
Exactly. Yeah, you can get to read just about everything I've written all across the country, and some people don't believe what I do, and I tell them, well, just Google my name, put Veterans after it or Agent Orange after it, and you'll see what I do. And and that's my advocacy, what I do, and I took up that sword, so to speak, to fight our government. And they say the pen is mightier than the sword, and I kind of believe that. And so that's how I do it. That's how I get the word out. That's how I make friends, and I've made a few enemies as well.
Oh, I'm certain of that.
I'm not liked in D.C., but they respect me.
I was just going to bring you to that to the D.C. fight. You're still fighting D.C.
Oh yes, I continuously do this. I write letters to congressmen. I write letters to senators. I attempt to get meetings. I have met with several senators and several congressmen, and of course, when I meet with them, I can hear that unspoken denial. Okay, you get that kind of feeling with them as they beat around the bush and kind of skip around the subject matter. And then they give you the excuse that well, I'm not on that committee, but I will attempt to do this or do that if it ever becomes up for a vote and so forth. Well, that's fine and well, but like I've told a few, I says, hey, you've got a voice in Congress. You've got a voice in the Senate. You go to the floor. You have your meetings. You can speak up. Just get up there and talk about it. Speak up for us. You don't have to wait for it to come to a vote. You know, why can't you just use your voice? Are you for a veteran or are you not for a veteran? Mm-hmm. And that's some of the argument that I give with these people in Congress and the Senate. Get up and speak for us. You don't have to be. You don't have to wait for somebody to ask you. You ask them.
Right. No, you're right. Absolutely. People have to speak out and use their voice, like you said. Listen, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're about to come to a break here, John. I'd love to stay on and get some more questions in. But just to let you know
I'll get a drink of water.
Yeah, get a drink of water, and we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few.
Good enough.
They try to turn off the water at NSA data collection centers. I'm Ben Swan with your Truth in Media Moment, brought to you in part by benswan.com. So who are they? Well, they are state legislators in states all over the country. Tennessee, Maryland, Arizona, and now even Utah, where the single largest NSA data collection entity is located. Now remember, I told you about this idea a couple of months ago. The idea is pretty simple, and it comes from the 10th Amendment Center. States don't have to wait for Washington to act on the NSA because Washington isn't going to. Instead, create some state laws that block the NSA from using water and electricity in these states for their facilities. Well, some people said those ideas were ridiculous, and yet there is legislation moving forward across the country to make this happen. I'll explain how it works after this. The destruction of constitutional liberties and endless foreign wars. The voice of the people silenced, while lawmakers simply enrich themselves and the political class. I'm Ben Swan. It isn't about left versus right. No, the real fight is liberty versus tyranny. At benswan.com, we are breaking the left-right paradigm. We know that the American two-party system is broken, and that to restore American liberty means to restore your rights as an individual. At benswan.com, we cover stories the national media won't touch, from the National Defense Authorization Act to nullification, militarization of police, and crony capitalism. We are not afraid to stand up for the rights of the people. We are the face of new media. benswan.com, where humanity is greater than politics. In 1975, Senator Frank Church warned that the power of the NSA could enable, quote, total tyranny, end quote. He recommended that Congress should limit the agency's power, but Congress hasn't. We all know that. But there are some brave state legislators who are attempting to do just that. A new bill introduced by State Rep. Mark Roberts seeks to do exactly that. The legislation, organized by the 10th Amendment Center and the Bill of Rights Defense Committee, called Off Now Coalition, well, the Utah Fourth Amendment Protection Act expressly prohibits state material support, participation, and assistance to any federal agency that collects electronic data or metadata without a search warrant, quote, that particularly describes the person, the place, and the thing to be searched and seized. Now, it's not going to be an easy fight, but in Utah, this would be a big one. As I told you, the NSA's Utah facility uses 1.7 million gallons of water a day. By blocking that water, the facility is done for. But remember, Utah can't do this alone. 10th Amendment Center's Michael Bolden says that other states need to join the push, even those without NSA facilities. He calls it essential. And it is. For stories that affect your liberty, you can find me online at benswan.com, where humanity is greater than politics.
Now I'm covered.
Now for the first time, you can be covered. If you've been waiting to be covered in mandates, regulations, and new fees, the time is finally here. Sort of. You guys stop showing that screen. So make some coffee.
I'm covered.
Approach life with reckless abandon. Kick your feet up. I'm covered. Because you're going to be in the waiting room for quite a while. But don't you worry your pretty little head off. First of all, it wouldn't be covered.
We're covered.
No, I said it would not be covered.
Now we're covered.
No, that's not. Yeah, I don't think you understood what I meant by covered earlier. It was a little bit ironic. Seriously, stop showing that screen. Healthcare.gov is not responsible for fulfilling any of the expectations, mandates, legal requirements, hopes, or dreams of any users. Results may vary. Consult your Obamacare-approved doctor or pharmacist to find out if Obamacare is right for you. Current waiting lists to have your doctor chosen for you are unavailable and will remain so for the foreseeable future. Obamacare may cause wait times, a decline in healthcare quality, money loss, political activism, anger, despair, hopelessness, frustration, European envy, dependence, and nausea. If you discover that your premiums have gone up as a result of Obamacare, please note that the program is working as intended and refrain from complaining. Call your doctor if you experience anxiety for longer than 4 hours. If you wish to opt out of Obamacare for any reason, please start a multi-million-dollar business, join a union, or run for Congress.
And we're back. Little
Okay.
extra long break.
If you don't mind, I'd like to tell you how I came in contact with Agent Orange.
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The ship I was on was the USS Sacramento, AOE-1. AOE stands for Auxiliary Oiler Ammunition. We carried 3,000 tons of bombs, powder, and missiles. We carried 9 million gallons of fuel, of various fuel oils. We supplied the fleet with their needs. We also carried 1,000 tons of foodstuffs and other variable items. I did 4 tours on that ship from 1968 to 1971. Our tours were 6 to 7 months in duration each time for each deployment. Now, the way I came in contact with Agent Orange, it's in our fresh water. See, naval ships, or practically all ships at sea, they distill salt water into fresh water. The heat of the distilling process intensifies the dioxin in the Agent Orange 12-fold. It makes it stronger. It loves heat. So we drank that water. We bathed in it. They cooked in it. It was in our coffee, everything. Unbeknown to us, of course, we didn't know that it was harmful. We didn't know that there was a dangerous product in our drinking water. Also, one of my duties on that ship, when we would have unreps meaning replenishment operations with another ship, where we would pass various cargo over to another ship. We also had 2 helicopters. My station was the refueling crew of those helicopters. Well, I came in contact with those helicopters. Those helicopters would also fly into Da Nang and Cam Bay and come back saturated with sprayed Agent Orange. And I also flew on those helicopters from time to time, coming in contact with the herbicide as well. That's how I got my diseases. That's how I came in contact with it, as did many others. Aircraft carriers, the sailors came in more contact with it from the planes that would be flying the sorties over there, dropping their bombs and strafing and so forth. By the way, at night, we would, for entertainment, we'd watch a 2,000-pound bomb go off of the hillside over there. It lights up the sky. But that's how I came in contact with it, and that's how tens of thousands of other sailors came in contact with it, through our drinking water. Now,
John, completely.
Yeah, go.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Completely unknown to you and all the soldiers, of course, as you said.
Yeah, that's right. Completely unknown to us. The troops in the field, they didn't know. They were drenched in the stuff. They waddled through it. They didn't know that it was harmful to them. They were told it wasn't harmful. There was no protective clothing issued either. I have a report here that I'm probably not supposed to have, but anyway, here it is. It's from the Comptroller General of the United States. Okay, dated November 16, 1979. Whereas he ordered the Congress and the Department of Defense and the VA to do an and the Environmental Protection Agency to do an in-depth study of the effects of herbicide orange on the ground troops. It states that ground troops were supposed to be issued protective clothing, which they weren't. The people who would spray it by hand, by truck, by tanker truck, were supposed to have protective clothing. They did not have protective clothing. So an investigation was launched by the Comptroller General. I do not know the outcome of that. I wish I could. It's classified information as far as I know. But the document that I have, which is 37 pages long, which is I'm not supposed to have, which is a report from Admiral Zumwalt, which he backed up all these various diseases and so forth. It's a lot of reading material. But sure. There is a lot of this. All right, let's take a covert mission, for instance. A covert mission is better known as a secret mission. Any troops or any naval ship or any aircraft that were on a covert mission, those documents are sealed. The mission is sealed. The men did not exist. They cannot prove they were on land. They can't prove they were in the air. They can't prove they were at sea. So without that proof, they can't have a VA claim for their diseases because the records are classified, sealed. Now, there is an aircraft carrier. I'll not mention which one, but it's an aircraft carrier. It was in Da Nang Harbor. 5,800 men on it. They were there for 3 weeks in 1973. They were evacuating Da Nang. That ship does not exist for 3 weeks. Its crew does not exist for 3 weeks. All the crew members on that ship who are sick cannot prove they were there because of sealed documents. Now, does that make sense 50-some years after the war? No. You tell me.
So they're all...
And no one can get those records. No one at all. My brother, he was in Okinawa where the stuff was buried. He can't prove he was there, and he's sick.
Wow.
Agent Orange was stored for pickup by naval ships in the Philippine Islands, Guam, Johnson Islands, and Okinawa. They were the main storage areas. And there was thousands of barrels of the stuff.
And there was 5,300 soldiers, and they can't, obviously, that say that they were there, and they can't prove it.
They cannot prove they were there. They can't prove the ship was there. See, we have something for Navy. If you want to know where you were located at, they're called deck logs. It's a log that's kept by the officer of the day of the ship.
Sure. Yeah.
Of the ship's operations.
Yes. Yep.
Now, for some of these ships that were on covert missions, those deck logs do not exist. They are sealed. I had to submit my deck logs. Fortunately, they showed everything. We weren't on any covert mission that I know of, not during my stay anyway. I submitted 52 pages of my deck logs. I had to show every day that I was in Vietnam waters. And then, of course, medical reports and you name it. I submitted 152 pages of evidence to the VA before they finally rated me 100% disabled, combat related. And it took a lot of time. I had to actually use politics to force the VA to give me an audience or an evaluation. And so that's what I had to do, and this is what a lot of other guys have got to do as well.
And John, excuse me for my ignorance, but there's no way to get these sealed documents. I mean, there's no way to.
Nope. A congressman or a senator can't even get them. Not even the president can get his hands on those.
Really?
Those documents are sealed, tight, and there's probably no more than 4 people in this country that have access to them. They are confidential records. And why are they confidential after all these years, after the war? They don't want to release them because it's going to make more claims. Okay?
Oh, sure.
You see my point there. More claims.
More payout.
Right, more payout. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We have a saying amongst us, deny till you die.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's ludicrous. When you get down to it, it's absolutely ludicrous.
It's just another way that the government's screwing the veterans.
Right. We are not worth the dollars to save.
Right.
However, you take an illegal alien who crosses our borders from Mexico, what do they get immediately? Right? They get food stamps. They get health care. They get a house. They get a house to live in.
Of course.
And what does the veteran get? He's got to beg for things. He's got to beg for health care. He's got to beg for compensation. He literally has to beg. And they get tired of begging, so they give up. The worst thing they can do is they give up. That's where I come in. I try to keep them from giving up.
Boy, do they ever. What's the statistics of soldiers that come back, maybe not necessarily Vietnam now, but Afghanistan and Iraq and what's the statistics? I don't have them in front of me, but the soldiers that commit suicide daily. It's astronomical.
It's astronomical. Post-traumatic stress disorder, brain injuries, and so forth. They're having lung problems from inhaling all that dust over there.
Mm-hmm.
And so forth. Afghanistan could be one of the wealthiest countries in the world with the minerals they have there. Every time they drop a bomb or throw a grenade, our soldiers over there are breathing in that dust. It's raw materials, and it's going to kill them or make them very sick eventually. This country's going to have the same problem with the Afghanistan and Iraqi veterans as they are having with the Vietnam veterans. And the thing is, our government will do nothing about it to help them.
Right.
Because it means a lot of money outlay. Now, how much money are we talking about? Let's just look at the Blue Water Navy alone. All right. Let's compare it to the federal prisons. All right. In 2014, the federal prisons had a budget of $6.4 million, $6.4 billion, okay, to operate. That's our federal prison system. Spread out over 8 years, $6.4 billion will take care of all of Blue Water Navy sailors who are sick, spread out over 8 years. Go figure. Now, I'm not against the federal prisons or taking care of prisoners or anything. They need to be taken care of too, but so do we. Why can't they budget that money to help us as well, that kind of money to help us as well? It's a drop in a bucket compared to our annual budget of trillions of dollars.
Doesn't make any sense to me. Why they wouldn't?
$6.4 billion is a drop in the bucket. It's nothing, but they won't give it to us. They won't give it to the VA to help us.
Well, it almost is simple, disgustingly simple, because it all goes back to profit and control. They'd have to admit that they did wrong.
Well, that's the thing. If they pass a bill, there's an active bill right now in Congress called H.R. 543. It's the Agent Orange Blue Water Navy Act. All right. If it gets passed, which it probably will not, But if it doesn't get passed, that's an admission of guilt right there. They will be admitting their mistakes, their errors of their ways. They will be admitting that, yes, Agent Orange is deadly, it is harmful, it is hurting our veterans who served. That would be their admission if they passed the bills. There have been other bills before that, and they all died. This one is still alive. It was introduced by Congressman Gibson of New York. He's a good guy. He's a fighter for us. Good.
Yes, it is good. We need people like you guys, trying to get this out in the open, out in the air. Because I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking what kind of snowball effect that may have if they had to, come out and admit that, well, they, poisoned you veterans.
Oh, the snowball effect would be huge. Because once they if they pass a bill, that's their admission of guilt. That's their admission that they were wrong in using the stuff. That's their admission that it is dangerous and deadly. The snowball effect would take on all the second and third generation children that would then be up in arms about everything and say we want ours as well.
Right.
And that would be the snowball effect. Now we're talking trillions of dollars, and they know it.
Right.
So you can look at it in that way. That's your snowball right there.
Wow, absolutely.
Then you have the widows. Then you have the widows of these victims of Agent Orange. All right.
That's right.
These widows, their husband dies, and they're stuck with nothing. There is
another
called, it's called DIC, Dependent Indemnity Compensation.
Mm-hmm.
But the widow has got to. But the thing is, her husband has to be declared 100% disabled. If he's 90% disabled, she can't get anything. That's not right either. It could be prorated, in my opinion.
Sure.
Because a lot of these widows are suffering as well. Loss of their husband, loss of finances, and everything. Of
course, and that's not even to touch base on the effect of just, another thorn in the side, another thorn in the side of the government and people, losing their faith in these wars and in the government itself. Exactly. And these companies, of course, Monsanto, Dow, the ones that control the food. I mean, there's been an effect there, of course, as well. So
it literally affects everybody that these wars have touched, and wars yet to come.
Ugh.
Well, for whatever reason, we have not learned our lessons.
What a sad truth.
And this is what I try to do when I write and get published. I try to inform the American people, the general public, of what's not happening, what should happen. And you've read some of my stuff that you looked up, and how I write. I'm usually limited on how many words I can get published, usually 350 to 400 words. So I try to condense as best I can to get a point across. And I always ask for people to call their congressmen, call their senators, put pressure on them. How many do? I don't know. I don't have any statistics on that. As far as VA statistics go, for any veteran who's been exposed to Agent Orange, statistically, and I have a document to that somewhere, that the life expectancy of a Vietnam veteran as of now is between the ages of 63 and 68. Anyone who reaches 70 is a gift. I'm 77. Horrible. Why am I still here? I had a congressman tell me the reason why I'm still here is because I have a mission to complete.
Yes. Agreed.
No, as I've lost I've lost family members to the Vietnam War, not to Agent Orange, or any chemicals like that. But I had an uncle with bad post-traumatic stress disorder, and even my father, who was a merchant marine. And actually during this entire conversation, and maybe you can clarify that, did any of the merchant marines, did they take any of this stuff over? I've never talked to my father about that. He doesn't talk about it much.
Right. Merchant mariners are on ships called USNS ships. Okay, they're civilian ships contracted by the Department of the Navy, and your merchant mariners have come in contact with it. I don't know too much about that because they can't make they don't make claims to the government that I know of.
Right. Okay.
Because they drank the same water, which was loaded with dioxin. They handled the barrels. They offloaded them at the various ports and so forth. Eventually, the Navy started transporting the barrels from places like Pearl Harbor. They would pick them up there. They would pick them up in Guam. They'd pick them up in Okinawa, and so forth, is where they would then pick them up. The Johnson Islands, which was one of the biggest stockpiles of Agent Orange, thousands and thousands of barrels. It's a very small island, about roughly 3 wide by a mile and a half long, or 2 miles with an airstrip. And it was a big storage area for that stuff.
Very interesting.
They're trying to clean it up. Actually, the island is for sale. I and some other veterans, we joke about it once in a while. Let's buy the island and invite all of Congress to come to visit the island and have everything on us for free. And we'll give them samples of the sand that they come that's contaminated. It's kind of a running joke amongst some of us.
Actually, and I could go on about that. I had some more questions about that. My father actually sailed in and out of Guam. I remember him talking about that quite extensively. Actually, I believe one of his ships was stuck on shore for a few weeks. But he's always told me that all he ever shipped was ammo and food and supplies. So
yeah,
and he doesn't talk about it even as just a merchant marine. He has seen some stuff, and he just doesn't have a lot of stories to tell. So, but geez,
Agent Orange in the barrels was camouflage.
So they wouldn't have known any.
Yeah, they were marked lube oil or kerosene.
Okay, they packaged it as a different
exactly,
different.
Except it had an orange stripe around it, and nobody knew what the orange stripe meant. They just went by what was labeled on the barrel, lube oil or kerosene. That's how they disguised it.
Wow.
And they would put a stripe around it.
And something we haven't even touched base on at all, and obviously we've been talking about our troops, which is obviously so very important. But what about the effects that it had actually in Vietnam? I mean, what kind of effects of these? The 220,000.
Much worse.
Well, I don't have the exact numbers, but a good estimate is somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 6 to 7 million innocent Vietnam people have died because of Agent Orange, and have had an insurmountable amount of diseases, birth defects, especially kids born with one arm missing. Goat face. I don't know if you've ever seen a goat face before.
Right.
It's horrible looking.
I see that
all
recently.
All sorts of diseases. A good friend of mine, her name is Heather Bowser. She is co-founder of the COVVHA. She was born with a leg missing, fingers missing off both hands, and webbed toes at birth because of the inception from her father. Now, her father blames himself for this.
Interesting fact. I was born with webbed hands and feet.
Wow.
Okay. And
I'm obviously not. Just.
Well, if your father was in contact with Agent Orange, then that is the probable cause for that.
Interesting.
Both of my children were born with birth defects.
Unreal.
Fortunately, they were corrected surgically. My daughter was born with wavering eyes. It took 2 surgeries to correct her eyes when she was very young, fortunately.
Wow.
My son was born with hypospadias, and he had 7 surgeries, and it was corrected. These were minor things. When I think of it, what could have happened to my children, I think about this all the time, what could have happened when I see what's happening to other children. So I consider myself lucky, I guess, in that respect.
Extremely lucky, I'd say.
And I've had people, well, do I blame myself for this? Of course I do. But I'm not to blame. Our government is to blame.
Right.
But people like me, we blame ourselves. And which works on your mind as well.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
I've had my bouts with post-traumatic stress disorder as well. Not as severe as some. I was able to control it.
Absolutely heart-wrenching. I'm sorry, I'm almost getting a little choked up here. Because
it is. You're not kidding.
Well, I can understand that. I no longer get choked up anymore. I'm well beyond that. Like I say, I don't have that in me anymore. It's been washed out of me.
Sure. Desensitized.
I have found people who are so much more, I consider others to be worse off than I.
Right.
Sure. I've had my bout with 4 cancers. Okay. I get sick all the time, sometimes horribly sick. Sometimes I'm in excruciating pain and I have to pop pain pills like candy. But when I see others, my heart goes out to them, and I say, "Gosh, you're worse off than I am," and that's how I look at it. Somebody else is worse off than me.
Man.
If I didn't think that way, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing.
Well, yeah, John, I'm sure. What a positive outlook on things. But I mean, it's just that's amazing.
There's a man that I know that I'm in close contact with him. He has a whole pack of problems. He has had 17 surgeries in the past 15 years, and he's still living, but he's fighting. He's fighting like crazy.
Wow.
I admire people like that fight.
Yeah.
They fight. They're fighting their illness, and they just want to live.
And they want answers and justice.
And they want answers. They want resolve.
Right.
And there is no resolve. Our resolve won't be given to us by our government. That's where the resolve is. We know we're going to get sick. We know we're going to stay sick. But the government can ease that pain for us by giving us the benefits that we should have, to make life a little bit easier, to help out our families a little bit better. So many of these men can't even work, and they're still work age. They're not retired yet, but they've had to quit their jobs. Some have practically lost their homes because of their medical bills. This is not fair. This is not fair at all. Is this America?
Right.
Is this how America really is? That's a big question on a lot of our minds.
It absolutely is. And unfortunately,
we failed to take care of our own.
Yeah.
The unfortunate reality of it is that is America. Sadly, and we are forgetting our veterans.
Well, we are a very giving country. We're probably the most giving country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and but yet, in many ways, I think we're the most idiotic country in the world.
Yeah.
Because we do not pay attention to our own.
Right.
We don't pay attention to our own. You're on your own.
Right. Exactly.
And there's no call for that. No call for it at all. We're the most wealthiest country in the world, even though I think China owns most of us.
They're catching up fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I have to laugh on that one. But there's no call for any of this. There's no call for any of it at all. They should take care of us.
Oh, of course.
We fought for our country. We didn't ask for anything. All we ask for is to be taken care of when we need it.
They're also trying to take away as many guns as possible from all the vets, and they're really putting it on them hardcore, and you hear that a lot anymore. So, yeah. I mean, I have to wonder why. I mean, these are the people that are seeing the war, and they're on the front line, and they're coming at home and returning. I suspect that our veterans are the ones that, when it comes to the point, they're the ones that are going to be, on the front lines and fighting for the people. And I think that the oligarch is doing everything they can to suppress us in that way and to make sure we don't have people on our side fighting for us.
Yeah, I would partially agree with you on that. We have a saying: if you can't stand behind us, stand in front of us.
Yeah.
And, let you go into the front line.
Yeah.
And see how it feels.
Oh, absolutely. It just dumbfounds me that all this time later that the U.S. government has come out, and it's public knowledge if people want to look it up, that the war was actually propelled from a false flag. That it was actually a false flag that got the war. Well, it's not even called the war started.
Right.
But to this day, they can't admit what the effects that they have done to our veterans and are still doing. This stuff drives me crazy because I don't necessarily believe in these wars, and but the people that are fighting them.
I don't believe in the present wars either.
Right.
I think we should be out of there.
Absolutely.
They're getting ready to start one with Syria now.
Right.
I'm afraid that's going to be another Iraq or Afghanistan.
It could be much bigger.
It will be if they do.
That's right. It will be another one.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be there for years. And a lot of our guys are going to get killed. They're going to get maimed. They're going to get wounded. They're going to get sick.
Of course.
When we enlisted in the military, we signed a blank check to our government, to our country. Not necessarily to the government, but to our country. We signed a blank check to do our job, do our duty, and if need be, even die for our country. That was our blank check. And I believe in that. Or I wouldn't have stayed 22 years.
Exactly. No, exactly. It's just, it does frustrate me. It's just like Jeff said. You folks, you men and women are treated as terrorists when you come home. I mean, not only are you not taken care of, are you not, physically and mentally and financially taken care of, but you're actually blackballed, treated as an enemy now.
Yep.
Right. Well, the Vietnam War was the most unforgiving war we've ever known in this country.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Again, you folks were spit on.
We were spat upon.
Right.
We whatnot. We were directed to not wear our uniforms ashore anymore. Don't go home in your uniform. Don't go to an airport in your uniform. People will look down at you, push at you, spit on you. This happened to me. This happened to many guys. All right. From the lessons learned of the Vietnam War, suddenly we're all now heroes. All right. There are all these welcoming parties for these guys coming home now, and rightfully so. They should be welcomed home. They have done their job, and so forth, and they should be honored as heroes. They don't have to have the medals to be a hero. Just be there. Just do your job. You fought for your country. You served your country in the name of freedom and flag. And we're all heroes. But the Vietnam War veteran was not. It was, 2012, on Memorial Day, I believe, President Obama finally admitted and welcomed the Vietnam veterans home. March 29th, I believe, is scheduled to be Vietnam Veterans Day. Yes.
Wow.
He made that proclamation in front of the wall, the Vietnam Wall, where over 58,000 names are posted. And he did that in a talk at that wall and welcomed the Vietnam veteran home. And declared March 29th to be Vietnam Veterans Day. It has not been ratified by the Congress, however, for that date to be Vietnam Veterans Day.
I'll tell you what, I'm glad he did that. I mean, but like with this guy and all the presidents, it seems they say one thing and do another. So I hope it comes through.
Yeah, well, I wrote President Obama a thank you letter. I don't know if he really read it or not. Usually he doesn't read any letters half the time. But I wrote it. I felt compelled. I felt I had to write him a letter and thanking him for that proclamation that he made.
Yeah.
Wow, I've got something that Obama did that I'm happy with.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you know,
but, you take a president, his hands are tied on a lot of issues. You know, if he doesn't get the cooperation from his Congress and Senate, then then there isn't. He can't do a whole lot within his powers, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, his hands are tied, I'm sure, on many different
like
levels.
A congressman or a senator, he could agree with me, he can agree with many of us, and so forth. His or her hands are also tied if he can't get his colleagues to agree with him. They can introduce a bill, and if his colleagues don't want to agree with that bill, the bill dies. This present bill that's in H.R. 543 so far has 167 co-sponsors, Congress co-sponsors on the bill. We need almost double that in order to get it out of the Veterans Affairs Committee, the Congressional Veterans Affairs Committee, to get it to the floor. Otherwise, it's going to die as well, and then we start from scratch again.
Wow.
Like I say, if the bill gets passed, then that's an admission of guilt.
Of guilt. It's so hard. It's so sad that you men and women have to fight so hard for this.
We do.
I know. I know, and it's absolutely heartbreaking.
You send a claim into the VA, and in the beginning, when it first started, that first bill in 1991, all you had to do was show your DD-214 discharge from military service with good conduct, and show that you earned a Vietnam Service Medal, and that you had a medical report stating the diseases that you had, and you got your VA benefits. That's not good anymore today. It could take hundreds, sometimes thousands of pages of evidence that you have to find. If you ask the VA after you submit a claim, your initial claim, well, how do I find this information you want me to disclose to you as evidence? They'll say, we can't help you. You're on your own. You've got to find it yourself. Well, I did a lot of research, and I found how to do it. I have a set of guidelines that is posted on the COVVHA website. It's several pages long, and it can serve any man or woman from any branch of service of how to find the evidence that the VA requires. And it's very time-consuming to find this evidence.
Sure.
Takes a lot of phone calls, takes a lot of letter writing. And unfortunately, if you send emails, they somehow get lost. But if you send a letter and writing, then they're both paid attention to. I've got the phone numbers, I've got the addresses, I've got everything that a veteran needs to find the evidence required. I share that.
John,
you've to find what I needed.
You've done all the footwork. You've done all the footwork for everybody to go here.
And I share this information.
Right.
I've had veterans send me an email or make a phone call to me. Some of them find me from the newspaper articles that I write, because it's got where I live, Media, Pennsylvania. So they look me up somehow. I get phone calls. Can they help? Can I help them? So I try to do that. I try to give them hope. I try to help. That's my advocacy. Those that I do help, I get a phone call back or an email back saying, "Gosh, John, I got my VA. I got my benefits." Or they're going to look at my claim and everything. I can't thank you enough. What do I owe you? I says, you just thank me. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't want anything more than to thank you. I had one veteran offer to send me $20. Okay.
Wow.
And I said, no way. I said, go buy your kids some ice cream with that. You thank me. That's all I look for, was a thank you.
John, you're not looking for any compensation.
I did something good.
You're not looking for any compensation, any recognition.
No.
Nothing.
I don't need recognition. I don't need compensation from anything. All I need is to know that I did something to help somebody. Now you're choking me up a little bit. That's unusual.
Same.
But that's my pride. I helped somebody. I helped somebody get to a point to help them better their life.
John, I
that's
absolutely.
The same way what Kelly Derricks does.
Yes.
She's the same way. She and I talk together all the time. She doesn't live far from me, about an hour away. And but that's all we look for, a thank you. And it makes us feel that we did something good.
John, I absolutely admire everything that you are doing, and a huge shout out to Kelly again for hooking you up with us and getting you on the show.
Kelly's a dynamic speaker. If you ever met her, you'd know what I mean. She is quite a woman. She is riddled with diseases herself. She knows that her lifetime is going to be short.
Yeah.
Right. But she doesn't let that bother her. She's in and out of the ER at least 3 times a month.
Shit.
Yes.
John, I didn't know any of this until last night. I didn't realize that she was sick or any of that.
She's a very sick woman, and that's why she couldn't take your show tonight, because she's sick again.
Right.
So she wouldn't be 100% par. So she recommended me because she knows what I do, and she knows that I have documentation. She knows the kind of work that I do. And we've been partners on a lot of this stuff. I was at a rally in October on GMOs. I had several hundred people roaring in the aisles. And I love speaking before people. I don't know, I just have a way of getting through, I guess. I don't know.
You do. You're very brave.
Extremely brave, and absolutely no lie, John. I've been getting messages throughout the night that just you're affecting our listeners. So,
well, I hope so. I hope these listeners do what I asked them to do. Contact their congressmen, contact their senators, put pressure on them.
Yes, and do it every day.
To help out
every
the
day.
veterans, not just the Vietnam veteran, but all the veterans we have today of these present-day wars, and the ones that are coming yet.
Yep.
We need help.
Yeah, and be demanding about it, and not submissive, and do it every day.
Exactly.
It's got to be done every day.
Done in a demanding style. I tell people, write a letter, make a phone call once a week.
Yeah.
Put that pressure on.
At the least.
Right. And
hopefully the message will get through.
Well, John, I know that we appreciate you coming on and spreading this message. and spreading the awareness.
I'm glad to be on your show. This means a lot to me. And
it means a lot to us for you coming on.
I have tried to get on national TV, and so far I've not been successful with that.
I don't even know what to say. It's first time that I'm speechless on the show.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's an eye opener, and I hope that whoever else is listening, they get an eye opener as well.
We'll be spreading this show around the best that we can because people need to hear this. It's very, very touching and very eye opening, and people need to hear this. It's very important.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the VA is not going to do anything unless our government forces them to do anything. They need funding, for one thing, and with this sequestration that happened here not long ago, a lot of the funding was cut. The VA funding was cut. Department of Defense was cut.
Right.
So the funding is now limited. For the VA to do their job properly, they need funding. You know, there's nearly 900,000 claims backlogged with the VA right now. These are claims from that go back as far as the Korean War.
Wow.
That are backlogged. That's a lot of claims.
John, I remember
they don't have the staffing to take care of it all.
I remember seeing an episode of The Daily Show. I think it was like a year ago, and they covered some of what you're saying as far as the VA goes and people trying to, and they did a whole thing on it. And I mean, you would think being on a national TV show like that, it would cause something to happen. I mean,
yeah.
Did that even do anything?
I wish I could get on a national TV show like Good Morning America or The View, one of those types of shows, you know, where I can really sit down and say my piece and disclose what is really happening.
Mm-hmm.
The failures of our government, the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of troops who are sick today and can't get their just due. It's a shame. It's shameful. It's shameful to put it in a word.
It's absolutely.
But the American people are beginning to realize what's happening, but not enough. They need They need to apply pressure. It's the only way we'll get things done. It's an election year for Congress. All of Congress is up for election. Now's the time to put the pressure on. Yep. And we got 2/3 of the Senate up for election as well. So we need to put that pressure on for an election year.
Wow.
Maybe they'll listen.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. As Chris said, I know that we're going to be spreading this show around. We're going to be getting your name around as much as we can.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I'm sure Chris would agree that, we'd love to have you on again sometime. And
any time you say.
For sure.
Great. John, any plug all the plug the websites and plug everything before we wrap up with you. And I think that I'm going to speak for all of us that we might need to take a break to regroup here for a moment.
Okay.
But again, it was great having you on, and like I said, plug the websites and plug everything.
Well, I intend to. I'm going to spread things around. I've notified everybody on my Facebook page who are my friends to listen in on this. I've sent the link around already to a few other people who might miss it. They go on Facebook and pick up the link and listen to what we've had to talk about. Hopefully, there'll be some legislators just might tune in.
Let's hope so.
They'll get an earful as well.
And I hope they follow through because they'll be a hero if they do.
I'll tell you, if we get a congressman or a senator who can get a bill passed in our favor, that person is going to be the biggest hero in this country.
Yeah.
I can promise you that.
Just to chime in. Yeah, just to chime in here, we do have somebody calling in that is running for Massachusetts State Senator.
Yep.
Andrew Pontbriand. Go ahead.
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
Great show. It's very emotionally charged, and I think a lot of people that listen to this show are going to be very moved, and hopefully people do as John requested and do their best to help our veterans and try to give back to what they have done for us, and I intend to do that as well.
Well, I would appreciate that. You're going to run for public office, and when you get elected, we would love to have you as a friend.
Yes.
Well, I'm certainly a friend, that's for sure. So, thank you, first of all, for everything you've done. Keep up the good fight, and obviously you haven't backed down yet, so you're never going to back down, and
I don't intend to back down.
Thing.
Right to my dying breath, I will not back down until I
That's
get
good to
what
hear.
I want.
So I just wanted to make a quick point in regards to, for example, the VA benefits. Now, for people who are, wondering exactly how crazy the military budget is, but yet there's lacking of funding and lacking services and veterans being ignored and having to wait for medications and, things of that nature. We have the world's biggest military budget. And if you cut that budget in half, we'd still have the biggest military budget in the planet. And then if you cut it in half again, we'd still have the world's biggest military budget. And I think you can even cut it in half one more time, and we'd still have the world's biggest military budget.
Well, I would tend to agree with you.
Yeah, so it's time for Congress to, get out of the business of war and, cut the military budget, sell all the assets that are sitting there, that have been sitting, since World War II, because they're always ordering new ammunition, they're always ordering new supplies when they already have a stockpile of supplies. So if we could sell off some of these, well, not some of them, but we're talking potentially billions of dollars that could be used maybe or put into a slush fund, for veterans. I mean, this is one of many ideas. There's so much potential, to turn this into a liquid asset and, even put it into a slush fund, like I said. And, they're always wondering, well, we need a new program. We need to have this new program and put more money into it when we already have the money just sitting in all these warehouses. We have abandoned military installations, and there's so much potential, and it's just being ignored.
Well, we need to get rid of some of the pork barrel stuff, too. I'll give you an example. Why does the government need to fund a study on how high a grasshopper can jump? Okay.
Yep.
And there is money available. They just don't want to do something about it.
Well, there's a
people
lot
like you who get in public office who believe in this. You have a voice. You'll have a strong voice. And we would like you to use your voice.
I was telling Chris that, although militarily speaking, that's more of a federal issue, but if I am elected, I'm not shy. So, speaking out against these kind of things and going public and doing whatever I could, that's just easy for me to do, and that's just what I've always done.
Well, I'm not shy either, as you've probably noted.
You can't be. If you want something that deserves to be heard, and thousands and thousands of people, possibly millions, are affected by it, it needs to be done. And it's these types of issues that the United States government just sweeps under the rug. All the while they want to convince you that we need to go to war with Syria or all sorts of ridiculous claims, when we need to be getting all of our troops back home and just protecting our homeland.
I agree.
So, but I do thank you, sir, and appreciate everything you're doing, and I just wanted to call in and let you know that although I'm not a Massachusetts senator yet, you have somebody in office that is willing to listen and try to do something, whatever I could do if I am elected, and I have your back.
Well, thank you very much. Now, if you'll talk to Mark, he'll give you my email address, and I would like to hear from you. Or my phone
absolutely.
Number. And maybe
absolutely, I would appreciate that.
Maybe we can put our heads together on this.
There you go.
Sounds good.
Good. Good.
Absolutely.
I like to hear.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys have a great night.
You too.
Hey,
thank you, Andrew.
Thank
you too.
See you, Andrew. All right.
All right. Bye.
All right.
Okay,
anything else?
I think we're going to wrap up. That was a really good show. Really, really good show. And
okay.
Thanks for calling.
Well, I appreciate this to no end. I think we caused an eye opener. We hit the nail on the head, and I hope upon hope that we get somewhere with this.
We're going to do our best to make this show go viral. We're going to do everything that we can. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
It needs to be done. So thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we really appreciate
me.
everything that you've done and that you're still doing.
Sometimes I think I don't. Sometimes I don't think I do enough.
No,
we all feel that way.
I don't think anyone's going to feel that way. You do more than enough. So you have a lot of respect. I know a lot of people listen. Everyone is respecting everything right now that you've said. So it's like I said, we'll make this show go viral as much as we possibly can, and we'll do everything to help you and all the war veterans and anyone that's dealing with anything like this. So, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
In my book, you guys are heroes.
Well, you're the hero here.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you're a hero as well
comparison.
for putting this on.
Well, thank you,
in
John.
a sensitive way. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate everything that you're doing for me and for our veterans, and for children of Vietnam veterans and so forth. It has been an honor.
The honor is ours.
It's just to talk to you.
Right. Well, you guys have a good day.
We'll be in touch with you.
Thank you.